So, a slightly delayed update on the Transatlantic Way bike race. I thought I'd give it a bit of time and let the race develop into kind of the final stages and the push in to get to Cork and the finish, um, which is nearly there. So I think the finish, whoever wins, is probably gonna be doing that kind of mid-morning tomorrow. I was slightly over optimistic as always, if you know me about when I'll be where. Um, about the finish, I thought it would kind of be lunchtime today. I'm not really sure how I did those calculations. You'll have to forgive me. My maths isn't brilliant, and I'm quite tired. So the two together make for some dodgy calculations. But anyway, I'm now going with mid-morning to lunchtime tomorrow. I think that's going to be pretty good. So you're currently going to see the leaders are around 2,200 kilometers. The finish is 2,546. So they've got kind of, around 350 to 400 kilometers to go. So yeah, I think that's going to take them around 16 to 20 hours, depending if they stop and sleep. Now, two interesting things to note straight away. Yesterday we talked about Bernd. I didn't really know what was going on with him as we hadn't had an update from him for ages. When this loads up, I'll be able to show you. So actually, it transpires that he had tracker issues. Adrian the race organizer, managed to catch up with him yesterday in Limerick, and sort out his tracker, so it's now working again. So you can see this big gap where there was no tracker and he was stuck in this location. And we didn't really know if he was moving. But now we know that's the case, and he was, making that distance hopefully, and now he's down here with his working tracker. Now, interestingly, his tracker started yesterday kind of mid-afternoon, but if we go back and we look at Bjoern, now I didn't think he was going to stop and sleep last night. It's the final push into the finish. Whether or not, Bernd's behind him, I thought he'd, racing as fast as he could. But last night you can actually see he stopped to sleep for quite a long period of time. 6-7 hours at least. So whether he knew Bernard was behind him or not, whether he is just really, really suffering and needed to stop, who knows. If we look at this kind of speed versus time plot, we can see his speed here. He had a nice tailwind here, obviously. But what we can see is before he stopped to sleep last night, he was really going slowly. Whether that was a headwind, whether that was also him just being tired, could be a combination of both, which is probably what I think it is. We can see once he got up and got going again, his speed picked up. He's had quite an hour's stop there as well today. So, if you look at this speed plot versus distance, you can see it's kind of a linear line. There's a very, very strong trend line there. He is slowing a lot. It's going to be interesting to see, because the distance between Bjoern and Bernd at the moment, under 20 kilometers, 16 kilometers between them, 10 miles. On the road, that's maybe 40 minutes. That's a food stop. It's nothing. So it's neck and neck between them. Luke Allen is in third. He's holding that position, and he's not going to be challenged for third unless something dramatic goes wrong. Racing for top 5, top 10 is going to be a serious challenge there. More or less any one of these could challenge for the top 5. There's not a huge amount of distance between them, 100 kilometers as well. 100 kilometers from the front to the back of these, as we can see there. So that is up for almost any of these, really, depending on how they sleep and things. You have to remember that these guys probably won't finish for another day and a half. So sleep, food, there's going to be a lot of stopping still going on there. What I thought would be interesting is if we go to the race flow, I've got this loaded up already, just looking at the men. The reason is, if we go back to the main map, you can see there's this lady who has arrived at the finish. she's scratched and has just made her own way there because her tracker's on. It's messing up this if we load up the leaders. So I loaded up the men. So if we zoom in, what we can see is Bernd and Paul in the blue line here. Now, he's holding his tracker picks up back up around here. Oh, this thing is so... There we go, that'll do, all close enough. So fiddly. So yeah, Bernd and Paul's tracker picks back up here and we can see him, and now his speed and Bjoern's speed is pretty equally matched. But the interesting thing to note is that Bernd just hasn't slept. So Bjoern took that long sleep last night, sacrificed this big lead he had, and Bernd caught up with him, and now their kind of speeds are again equal. So Bernd is matching Bjoern's speed without having slept. And if we go back down the tracker, the sleep that he's making isn't much. Down here we can see the speed that he slept a bit here, Bernd, the blue line, and then his speed is dropping off quite considerably, and he falls behind Luke Allen here. Now that was apparently when he was having some issues with his pelvis that he'd broken previously, and a few other things. So it looks like he's managed to deal with that. What went on with sleep and things in this period, we don't know. Luke Allen, you can see, is really consistently sleeping, making pace, then slowing, then sleeping again, and making pace. His speed is definitely less than these two, even though he's sleeping his steady amount of 4 or 5 hours, and he's slowing off. And as I was saying, this fight for the top 10, top 20, it could be any one of these here. It's going to be a fierce battle. You can see here they've just been changing places depending upon sleep and things like that. So really, it's going to be a case of who can sacrifice their sleep to push on for the win, or for the top 5 placing. These guys are going to take the win, and the battle between here, I don't know how it's going to go. Bjoern slept a lot more. He should be stronger, but apparently their speeds are the same. So I can't call that. It's going to be fascinating, really, and whether Bjoern knows what's going on behind him with Bernd catching him, I don't know. If we go back to the main map, one thing of note is that I was talking up Charlotte Thompson for a really good ride, but actually yesterday she scratched. Apparently she'd been suffering with some neck issues, as many ultra riders do. So the whole kind of lady situation has changed with both her and Paula having scratched. So if we look at just the ladies, we can see actually Anna Orzen has overtaken Emily Chappell. Emily Chappell was having some issues. She was in the lead before, and then the next best lady is Victoria back here. So there could be a fight for that first lady at the moment. They still have quite a long way to go, a couple days at least, maybe 3. For 3 days riding, you can't call anything that far out because lots can change. So that's going to be quite fascinating. But this battle that's going to ensue between Bjoern and Bernard is quite fascinating. They've apparently been neck and neck all the way, really, with Bjoern sleeping a lot more, Bernard barely sleeping. How that's going to fare in the last kind of 400 kilometers is anyone's guess, with Bernard currently matching Bjoern's pace. As I say, I think the finish is probably going to be mid-morning tomorrow, so we will be able to watch that. We'll be awake. And I'm fascinated to see what happens. What they'll do is they'll come and meet the end of the mandatory parkour in Kinsale here. From Kinsale, they will then make their own way, having chosen their own route to Cork, and then to the finish line at Barnley Castle there. And it's going to be fascinating. So make sure you tune in onto the tracker and watch tomorrow. If you've got any questions and comments, just reach out to me. But too close to call. We'll just have to wait and see. Cheers.